It is the 54th episode.
No! You guys want to talk some fishing, talk some football? I'm coming down. That's when we went out with Old Town. Ryan Lilly over at Old Town. And those Old Town guys are great, man. I love those kayaks. Yeah, I mean, I've had great experiences with them. I mean, even like saltwater plugs, Outcast. Yeah. You know what I mean? Guys like that I use, and I just know it works. Yeah.
And I swear to God, he was at the end of the jetty just with his arms crossed. And I'm like, I'm in so much trouble.
When I was like, I'll talk to him.
Welcome to another episode of the On the Water Podcast. Beautiful.
Let's go!
This episode of the On the Water Podcast is sponsored by our friends at Old Town Canoe and Kayak. I love kayak fishing, and to be honest, there's no place in the world that I would rather be than fishing on my Old Town Big Water pedal kayak. The Old Town Sportsman lineup includes paddle, pedal, and power-driven kayaks in a range of sizes and setups, including Old Town's newest kayak, the ePDL Plus. This is the fishing kayak version of an e-bike. It looks like the regular PDL drive, but it has a lithium battery assist that lets you pedal faster and with less effort. You could choose the level of assistance, or you can even let the battery do all the work and go into cruise control. What I love about fishing from the ePDL Plus is that it greatly expands your options, so you can go further, you can get there faster, and you can explore new waters. As a striper fisherman, it's allowed me to fish outflows in areas with heavy current, the places where stripers feed, and places that I wouldn't have the leg power to fish in a traditional kayak. Old Town kayaks are still manufactured, rigged, and tank tested at the Old Town factory in Maine. Check them out, and I think you'll find that the quality of a Maine-built Old Town kayak can't be beat.
What's up, everybody? I'm Cheech, back with another episode of the On the Water Podcast. Actually, it is the 54th episode.
No!
Of all time.
Yes.
Of the On the Water Podcast.
All
and
right.
I got the one and only Brew, Tedy Bruschi,
5'4"
NFL
in the
legend.
house.
Yeah. Dude, it's awesome to have you here, man. Thanks for coming
man.
through.
Shoot, it's the least I could do. I mean, this is... Shoot, on the water, help me get going in terms of learning around here and fishing. So you guys want to talk some fishing, talk some football?
Absolutely.
I'm coming down.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where, like, this all started with an invite to this very podcast, which it took us forever to get here because we were having too much fun doing other things. I reached out and honestly, I thought nothing of it. I'm like, somebody else probably manages the dude's, Instagram profile. Mm-hmm. I just hit him up. And he's like, yo, I love you guys. Yeah, I'm in. Let's do it. And I'm like, it all came from seeing you fishing the canal. And
right.
I just was kind of like, all right, this is probably, I'm probably not even talking to him. You're like, yeah, I got to go down. My kid's graduating school. Hit me up in like 10 days. And I'm like, all right, maybe there's something here. And next thing you know, I'm, rattling off football questions and stuff at the lobster trap over lunch just as we're getting to go kayak fishing. He ended up joining us on that episode.
Right, that's when we went out with Old Town. Ryan Lilly over at Old Town.
Yeah.
And those Old Town guys are great, man. I love those kayaks. But we went out, that's the first time I caught a striper on a kayak. So that was new for me, so... And I'm all about new experiences. Like, I will try it all, man. I mean... I'll get in waders. I'll go in those ponds you've taken me. I'll just do so many things that I just look to do new things because, I mean, I have the same enthusiasm and energy for fishing like I did for football.
Yeah, it's clear, man. It's like I used to get like kind of picky choosy with you a little bit. Like, hey, man, like the first time at the boat ramp, I'm like, I got to get you tuna fishing, dude. It's like a car crash, and I'm like, actually, you know what that's like as an NFL linebacker? It's like that, but fishing wise. And you were like, and we still have not done that yet, but you have.
Right.
We'll get through all that stuff, but that was real cool. You had just gotten into kayak fishing, and kind of had you out, and you were figuring it out on the fly. And that was the first question I asked you was like, where'd this kind of passion come from? You just jumped right in.
Right. Well, I mean, I grew up in San Francisco, and I used to fish the piers.
Yeah.
But the piers really, I mean, there were a lot of guys fishing and all that stuff, but we crabbed. And when you crab in San Francisco, just off the edge of the pier, it's this big old circular net with a little circle at the bottom, and we'd put some raw chicken down there, and we'd throw it out, right? And so we'd bring home commercial crabs, and my mom... Filipino woman knows how to cook up some crabs, man. So we do that all the time. One time I was pulling up our net, and then my net went this way. It just went, and I started pulling it up, and it was a perch, like a rubber lip perch, like about this big. And we kept the fish, took it home, ate it. But that's from a young age. That's probably one of my youngest memories of sort of catching a fish in a different way. That I just thought it was so awesome that crabbing, fishing, I mean, all of that stuff really just had my interest since I was a young boy.
So when you had that experience, when did it kind of get into like rod and reel fishing for you?
Rod and reel fishing, still as I grew up, the old power bait, throw it out there for trout, lakes around San Francisco, all of that stuff. And then getting into football took me away from it a little bit. Of course. So I'm in high school, I'm in college, still try to go fishing with my teammates once in a while, but I was in Arizona. It's like, where am I going? It's hot as shit out here. I can't do anything, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I get out here to New England, and still, football is just occupying me through the early years of my career. Then I slowly started to go out with teammates on a charter or a boat or something like that, and started to learn how much of a fishery it was here. I retired. Yeah. All of a sudden, I'm working for ESPN, and I got the time now. Yeah. And I had this kayak. I used to kayak with a buddy out in Hingham Harbor. And we used to go all the way to like Petix Island, Island, George's Island, right out there. Home. Yeah, right there. So I used to just kayak, just like to get there to do it. And it was an old, what was it, LL Bean kayak, or something like that. Off the shelf jobbies. So then I try to fish there when we do it. We'd be fishing going to the island, and then I went to this bait and tackle shop there, and they gave me this tube. And I was like, what?
You got introduced to the tube and worm.
What the heck is this tube for? You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and I tried something like that with trolling, but it didn't work. I mean, I probably got one bite the whole time. And
it's very technical.
So you're trolling basically, right?
Super slow, and it just kind of like meanders. I don't know what they think it is, because there's no worms I've ever seen that long. But I got introduced to that by my old man. He had that down to a science. It's all about keeping it at a super slow speed just off the bottom. It keeps it in the strike zone. You usually put a sea worm at the end of it. Guys put all kinds of stuff, but a sea worm is best.
Yeah, I didn't get to the point where you put the sea worm on the
end.
So I was so green. Too. I didn't know what I was doing.
But that's actually a very effective Boston Harbor technique. When my dad first, I used to see these things in the basement. I'm like, what are these? He's like, I'll show you one day. Right. He did. Tubing and worming is a very effective way. And on a kayak, it's something to study up on. I know you got a thirst for information.
Yeah.
And that is something that once you dial in, it's fun, and you catch really big fish doing it too.
All right, and that's a goal of mine coming up. All right, trying to get one on the tube while I troll. Yeah, and then so with that same kayak, I was like, there's so many bodies of water locally that I drive by, and it's like, how do I get into these? And so old coach of mine, Matt Patricia, lived on the Neponset Reservoir, I think that was in Foxborough. Yeah. And we used to go off his dock, and I used to take my kids, minnows, and boom, we used to pull bass out of there, and the kids loved it, right? I got these old pictures of my kids when they were young, just holding up bass from that reservoir. It was awesome. So I was wondering, so I got to be able to launch somewhere. Yeah. Right. So I go to the launch, sort of trying to figure things out, because I'll go to a launch with nothing, and then I'll just try to see where I'm scouting.
Read and react.
The whole football thing. I'm scouting. You know what I mean? So I go to a launch, and I see these two guys. And I'm like, dude. And I try to get. They got a John boat with a trolling motor or something like that, and they're going out. And I start talking to this guy. Name's Tom Piccolo. He works at Red Top. And that's how I got introduced to Red Top.
Next thing you're fishing the canal.
And then Pick is like just telling me constantly places to go. And this is a guy that's got energy that matches yours, man. Yeah. I mean, it's just like nonstop energy in terms of where these places are. And I started out freshwater, and then I go saltwater, and he introduces me to Ian Lumsden. He also works at Red Top. Yeah. And then Bull, everybody knows famous Bull. Yeah. Then that's the canal, my canal connection. So Red Top has been huge in like putting me in different places, just like you and a lot of other places. But that's where it all started, really.
Yeah, having a relationship with your local shop is key, because they're so dialed in, and it's just, you're literally a fish out of water until you learn the intricacies of a certain region. So that's pretty awesome. Yeah. So you've done a lot in a short period of time. Like first on Instagram, I saw you fishing the canal, and I'm like, oh, Brew fishes. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're out on a kayak, and Old Town stepped up, got hooked up with you because they knew we were doing this thing.
My
and
autopilot 136, man.
yeah, you've been taking that thing everywhere.
Everywhere. I mean, shoot out here. I mean, saltwater, freshwater, chasing albies, bonitos last year, man. I just love this kayak now. I got a remote around around my neck, and I'm putting it in spot lock and everything. It's the best.
Yeah.
And any type of fishing, I'll try. And plus, I'll put that in the back of my truck, and I'll just launch. I'll look for any type of launches that I can do, because you can get in those dirt launches, but also for boat ramps, it's nice and easy too, because I put sort of a wheel system on the back where I just back it out and boom, and then I'm in.
So outside of the charter fishing stuff and messing around my old stomping grounds, that red top connection was huge. What was your first taste of success on the canal like? Walk me through that story. How'd that go down?
Quantum is back and saltier than ever with the new Benchmark and Strive saltwater spinning reels. Last season, I used the Benchmark in the surf from Cape Cod to New Jersey, catching bass and blues on my 6000 series and albies and fluke on my 2500 series. Last season, I used the Benchmark in the surf from Cape Cod to New Jersey, catching bass and blues on my 6000 model and albies and fluke on my 2500 model. The seal lock protection and IPX6 water resistance rating kept the reel performing flawlessly through every splash, spray, and accidental dunking. The best-in-class carbon fiber drag stayed smooth and put the boots to the fish. I cannot wait to break these reels back out when the stripers return in the spring. Also available is the new Quantum Myth High Modulus Carbon Fiber Rods. Built with Sea Guide corrosion-resistant guides for friction-free line flow and premium cork handles, these inshore rods pair perfectly with the Benchmark and Strive reels. To learn more about Quantum's triumphant return to the saltwater scene, visit quantum.com. Quantum, tested beyond limits.
Yeah, I had to. I mean, I'll get out there in waders really, and because I like to get in the water, because I mean the rocks. It can get treacherous, yeah. So went out there, and it was unbelievable in May.
Yeah.
You know, Bull took us out there. He knows the spots. He knows this pole, this time. Be here. We would at Bull. So we're actually sitting there sometimes, and Bull will be like 5 minutes. And then he'll give us a time where it's like, this is when it's going to start hitting.
Now.
And it's like on. So this guy it was great. And the first season I fished the canal was that monster that I caught. It was a big fish. It was a big fish. And I was just hooked from there. And then I've been out of the canal.
Was that your first canal fish?
No, not my first.
Okay.
But not my first. I had caught a few smaller than that, but they weren't schoolies. It was a good couple months that were there, that we were fishing there, that got me hooked for life, basically. And I'd been out there in November catching stripers out there in November.
I remember you were showing me pictures.
Yeah, I was so proud,
I thought they were gone by now. You're like, no, I'm still catching them, bro.
But yeah, that was my first experience, and it was one that, I mean, maybe we could show the picture, but it was just a huge fish.
Yeah.
And it's that sort of photo sort of took off. Like everybody started contacting me like, man, where was that? What are you doing with it? Or it's like, oh man, I was right there right before you were there. And it was like, because the canal is, I mean, that's sort of a special place where a lot of old timers and a lot of young guys try to start. And so it's a good little, you know, you got a nice little bike, you know, or an e-bike like they use now. You can go all the way up and down those 7 miles.
It is a very unique dichotomy. Like that whole ecosystem is its own thing.
Yeah, here it gets rough sometimes too. I mean, guys fighting for spots and all that stuff. I've stayed away from that, but you know, it's been good for me.
That's a good call. That's kind of the reason why I don't really spend as much time as. I mean, if it's really good, I might go sneak down there. It's right down the street from my house, so it's like, but it gets crazy. I like to be kind of off on my own, doing my own thing. You've experienced some of that.
Oh yeah, like I said, I do it all, canal, you know, by myself, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
that's one of the coolest things of like, because after that whole shoot wrapped, I was like, that was like an all-time like cool moment for me. I'm like, and then all of a sudden, I think Friday morning, I'm getting ready for work, and I get this unknown number hit my phone, say, hey, I got you locked in. I'm like, who's this? And you're like, it's Brew. And I'm like, and next thing you know, we're just like, what are we gonna do next? Like,
I know,
and
right?
we try to tune a thing. Your wife shut that down because she didn't want a grumpy brew driving her kid and her to college. The day we would have gotten back from that trip, we will still do that. But
I've gotten out since with Zach from Zach's Custom Rods. I'm just
dude.
another great
I will
guy
say
for
this.
me.
I'm going to cut you off real quick. You are as loyal as they come when it's like when you have fishing alliances, right? It's like you have your charter guy, like 40. You fish with
I've
some
gone
other
with
people.
40. I've gone out with Vinny, but I'm Vinny at Point and Shoot. I mean, those are guys. Top Spin, I've been out a couple times in Nantucket. I mean, there's just
I got you out with Joe. Go for a kind of a mixed bag trip, and he had a blast.
That was awesome too. Yeah, Joe was great. But yeah, those are. I go with you. I'll plan it throughout the course of a season, like my trips with my guys. Yeah.
We're bouncing around a lot, but like you would hit the the Marlboro show recently at the Freshwater Bass Show, and I'm like, hey, and I didn't get to you early enough because. Long story short, I'm like, check these out. And you're like, no. I only throw Pat swim baits, toxic swim baits, and the Gerauler.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I know.
And I should have realized that, like, I didn't know you were going until you were there, actually. And then I wasn't working that day at the show, and I would have had you go over and meet you, who I was actually
I missed him.
yesterday.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But it was funny to me that you were like, you shut it down right away. I'm like, oh, check these out, check those out. And you're like, nah, I only need toxic, Gerauler, and my Pats.
Yeah, I mean, I've had great experiences with them. I mean, even like saltwater plugs, Outcast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Guys like that I use, and I just know it works.
Yep.
And it's like, I go. I'm going to throw it and throw it and throw it. I cast it a mile.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or it works well with my equipment. That's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah.
And if I tweak it a little bit, it's going to take a lot for someone to say, put something in my hand and say, this works. And I'll give it a shot maybe. Yeah. But, I know it works.
You got your go-to. I like it.
Get into it. Yeah.
So we started. You have a love for freshwater bass fishing. I know you had been down south fishing with some people, and I'm like, oh, dude, you got to try the Swimbait thing, which is one of my latest addictions.
Yeah.
So you're like, all right. Can I bring my kid? I'm like, absolutely. The more the merrier. I'm like, let's go harass some of these local ponds at night. And I'm like explaining to you, I'm like, this is what it's all about. You're fishing in the dark. You're throwing these big baits where you're gonna look at it when you first see it and be like, wait, you want me to catch a bass? Like, this is for largemouth bass. I'm like, yep.
Right.
And, you pull up. I get waitered up. Meet your son, Dante. We head out, and I look up at the sky, and I'm like, oh, no, it's a full moon. You're like, what's that mean? I go, it means it's going to suck, you know? I instantly didn't, like, I'm in, that work life hell with, like, young kids. I get out as much as I can, and it's always kind of rushed and last minute. And I'm like, we're going to go do this thing, and I'm going to introduce you to Swimbait fishing. So we pull down to a local pond, and you're like, all right. I'm like, yeah, follow my lead, do this, do that. You're like, all right, I got to get a hang of casting this thing. On your practice cast, you hooked a fish.
First cast, man. Yeah, I was like, what are you talking about, full moon, man? This is good. This is good.
we caught it kind of funny because I ended up giving you guys space and going over to a corner that I like, and I was fishing a blurple, Gerauler, and you were like, what's that thing with the wings? I'm like, oh, don't worry, you'll get one. Like, I'll hook you up with these guys. If you like this, we'll do more of it. So I go over there, and like right off my rod tip on the end of a retrieve, I just get an absolute monster blow up, and I'm like literally hand-to-hand combat with this thing, and I lose it because like anytime I hook a big bass on a short leash, it always gets off because they're just so green. I'm gonna start paying it out and letting them kind of swim with the plug and hope they stay hooked because I can't land them when they eat right off the rod tip for whatever reason. So long story short, I'm like, oh, it was like a 5 or 6 pounder at least. It's got some big fish in there. It was a real good one. And I was so mad at myself because I'm like, that was the one I needed to show them.
Yeah.
So you guys are like, what the hell was that? I'm like,
I know.
That was a largemouth. And you're like, what? And then I'm like, now I'm toying with the next move in my
We know
head.
why you went that way, and you sent us the other way.
Well, actually, it kind of played out all right
I know,
because
man.
I was toying with the next move. I'm like, do we leave? It's been good. It got kind of a little quiet, right?
Yep.
And then I'll kick it to you. We kind of moved our way that way.
We moved to the right, and it was one of the best fishing memories of my life when me and my son doubled up, man. We doubled up on a 4 and 5 pounder.
Yeah.
When does that happen? Double up, or somebody's got the big one, the other one's got the, the nice little pound and a half or something like that. We pulled in a couple pigs, man, and it was one of the best shots. You took the picture, and it's like it's on my shelf right now at my house, like me and my son doubling up in the middle of the night, full moon, largemouth
That was
bass.
awesome. I knew you were.
Swimbaits,
I knew you were all done. You were like, when can we do this again?
Yeah, Dante's
hit a
like, when do we
couple
get in the
more
water,
spots.
Dad? When's this ice melting so we can
He's
go
fun
out
to fish
now?
with. He gets dialed in.
Yeah.
That was so funny because I don't know what it was, but you were doing a remote, segment for ESPN where you work, and my mother's boyfriend sent me a text, and it was like a cropped in screenshot of that photo, and he goes, I bet you're pissed that that's not you in the photo. And I looked at it and I went, I took that picture.
You did.
I sent him back the original. I said, I took that photo. And he was like, that's even better.
Yeah.
That night was pretty cool. And that's what kind of got you on the, and we've had some tough grinds, which
Right.
that's where I stopped getting selective with you. Cause you're like tenacity. You just keep going and fish through slow stuff, and experiencing new ways of fishing is really impressive. Like,
Well, you lose some games. You miss some tackles.
Yeah.
All of that stuff in terms of the football sort of analogy, man. You're not catching fish every time.
Yeah.
And like, I have come to appreciate what the experience is, man. Being on the water,
Everyone's
casting,
different. Every
looking at it. I mean,
trip is
just being out there. It's just everything's great. Everything's different, like you say. And it's not all about catching fish all the time. I'd love to, every single time.
always
But
wanna catch, too.
everyone listening out there knows you don't. You don't. And soaking up the experience is big for me.
yeah, I mean, the one thing you do every trip is you learn something new every trip. Might be what not to do, but it's. I always make this analogy. It's like a never-ending puzzle, or it's like a puzzle with never-ending puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
So
I had to get used to casting those big old swim baits too, because it's like I'm not used to, with that rod and reel, having such a 3 ounce, 3.5 ounce sort of lure on the end, and not whipping it, and just because sometimes it snaps and it's gone, and you just there's $40 out there, man. I mean, it's crazy. Guys talking about they're swimming out there for their swim baits, but learning every single time.
Yeah, it's fun. And then we took it back to conventional. I got you out with my buddy Kyle, and we went on the real micro, like Smalley deal, total different scenario, and you got that dialed in.
And that was one of my first experiences with live scope too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In terms of telling me how far to cast, telling me like, okay, you got it there, and sort of moving. I sort of seeing the screen, and he was watching the screen, and I was doing the fishing, and then I caught a smallie, but the live scope was that's the first experience I had with that.
I wouldn't be surprised if you end up putting live scope on the yak.
It's already in the works.
Yes, I love it, dude. I love it.
It's already in the works, man.
I love it.
My guys so I ended up fixing up my. I went to Old Lyme, Connecticut.
Yep.
The Black Hall Outfitters guys have been great to me, so I'll go out there, and Matt Stone and Gene Schmiel are guys they've hooked up my kayak since I got the Old Town, AP 136, and they've sort of helped me along the way. It's been out there a couple times now, so it's
that's awesome.
Yeah,
dude. It's a lot. It's got to be like that. Very similar to that NFL fraternity, where it's like the fishing community. It's like, when you're in it, it just keeps getting smaller, and everyone's helping each other out for the most part. And it's a cool deal. I love working in this industry for that reason. And
the New England fishing community that I've come to learn also. I mean, I've been to Rhode Island to kayak fish. I mean, I haven't done the Maine thing yet. I want to get up there soon, but I've been to a lot of different places. Vermont, I went up and did Champlain. Done Champlain a couple times for smallies up there. Third Alarm Charters. Trombley, my boy Trombley. Yeah, great guy. But I just love the exploring. Road trips, all of that stuff. I'll take them.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's what do you like better, largemouth or smallmouth?
Probably largemouth. I have a lot more experience with largemouth. I've even taken trips to Mexico. I'll be taking one in a couple weeks, actually, to go down there to place that I fish, Agua Milpa, lake down there. I go out with a college teammate.
Very cool.
Not every year, but we try to get out there. This will be our third time there.
You bringing some big baits?
Yeah. No, big baits. I should.
You should.
Yeah. I wonder.
You
That
should
would
check
be
in with the
fun.
guide first and ask him kind of, what works.
Really? Yeah.
I would.
didn't try
Why
big
not?
baits from there before. Yeah, more swim baits. Yeah, but I gotta try that.
That'd be pretty
But
cool.
I would say largemouth. I mean, I've caught a lot more than smallies, but
Yeah.
I do love those little gold footballs too.
I bet you that's going to end up switching once you start to get. I mean, I don't know. I'm speaking out of. I have an obsession with smallies, and it's you know what? It could very well be because I've caught far less smallmouth than largemouth. So, I want what I don't have usually, right? So it's like that's been a big kick that I've been on. It's just something cool when you hook, into a 4-pound smallie, like a quality one, and I weighed a lot, so like. A largemouth's never going to do this, but I'll hook a smallie sometimes, and next thing you know, I'm looking up at it, and I'm like, damn, that's cool, because they just air out. Like
Yeah, you do
nothing
the
else.
lunchtime fishing too.
Do a lot of
bunch.
that.
I was reading Jimmy's
Yeah.
Jimmy Fee's article.
Yeah,
man.
and the bass issue.
Dude, I love the magazine, man. Yeah.
I gotta steal every moment I can get because like there's not enough time to go out and do it. Like I still got to work for a living. Retirement is gonna be fun. Don't get me wrong, but like right now I gotta steal every moment I have to.
Yeah, you smart, man. Get
I
out.
go up before work. I go at lunch break, and then.
So how long do those sessions last? I mean, for you,
I only have an hour lunch break, so as far as Chris Megan's concerned, I'm back in an hour on the button every time. But
Come on, Megan.
If the fishing's good, I'll stretch it a little bit. But I'm an early riser. I get out of my house as early as I can, and I'll swim bait fish when it's dark out, and then the sun will come up. And as soon as it starts to get a little, I'm not moving as many fish, I'll switch over to throwing a jig or, a little, jig head with a minnow, rubber minnow on it. Like I've been fishing the Mayor a lot on a, 1/8 of an ounce jig head. It's the same bait that you caught that smallie on, just working it along the bottom on Kyle's
I know what
boat.
you're talking about now.
So like,
Okay.
I'll go to the point where it's like nothing's gonna catch a fish but a swim bait right now in the dark, and then I'm like, all right, it's gotten swim bait kind of stopped working. I'll switch over to conventional, and then I got my alarm on my phone, and it's like, all right, I really gotta. If I take 20 more minutes, I'm gonna be late to work.
So is there ever a transition that you go like springtime freshwater, then you're just all saltwater? I mean, or you go back and forth the whole
So
season?
the lunch break deal, I tend to fish freshwater more until like the albies and stuff show up. Early season, I'm still like, anxious to get on some stripers from shore and stuff. So sometimes I'll do some local stuff. It tends to probably skew more freshwater because my season flips completely. Once the salt is going, it's like that's all I can think about. So any trip that I plan that's like a full day or a full morning, like I'm going in the salt. So when I have an hour to burn, a lot of times it's just more accessible to freshwater fish.
Yeah.
So that's what kind of carries me through the season. But I don't know. It kind of whatever's going to bend the rod the
if
most.
there's
and-
albies, though, you're going for albies. Yeah.
yeah, pretty much. I'm parked at the end of a jetty, not having the boat anymore. It's like I used to make pre-work trips all the time.
So were the albies scarce for you last year, like for everybody in terms?
from
'cause
shore,
it was
they
the
were so
year
frustrating.
of the bonito, right? The more
Tons of
bonitos
bonito.
around. Yeah.
A lot of
That was different around here, right? To see so many bonito.
yeah. One thing with fishing is a lot of it's cyclical. Like you'll have these epic albie runs, and then all of a sudden the albies usually push the bonito out. But this last year it was like no one had a problem finding bones. They were everywhere. But the albies are monstrous this year. We saw a couple the day you tried to get me fired. I've been virtually living in AFCO's deckhand fishing shorts and pants since they came out. I have the pants on right now. The stretch woven blend of nylon and spandex makes them super comfortable while providing UPF 50 sun protection. The combination of a sturdy elastic waistband with belt loops and a zippered fly makes for a look suitable for the office, the boat, or the bar. And the reinforced plier pocket and stain-resistant, water-resistant coating help keeps tools in reach while water and fish blood bead right off to keep them looking great. Family owned and operated for over 65 years, AFCO represents unparalleled quality, performance, and reliability when it counts. AFCO is not only proven to perform on the water, but are true leaders of conservation. Their pledge to protect and conserve has 10% of every AFCO purchase going directly to supporting conservation initiatives that make a difference. Visit AFCO.com today and pick yourself up a pair of deckhand shorts and pants. You'll thank me later. When it was Striper, it was our Super Bowl. It was StriperFest Friday. Like, we have to set up for hosting all the people that come to StriperFest, and we were trying to film some stuff just to knock some stuff out for clients. And in my older age, I'm a little bit more responsible than a younger Cheech would have been, and I'm like, all right, I know Chris gets worked up with getting it's a lot of work, to have 3,000 or 4,000 people come through an event in a day. Yep, it's a lot. So I was worried about his stress level because I know he's on tilt the morning of
that's your day.
That's our day before. It's a setup day.
That's the day.
So it's me, it's you. I got Liam, who's one of our videographers, and then Robbie Tartaglia, who's like, he's a bad influence on probably all of us. Robbie's just he's go. He wants to fish. He only thinks about fish, and it's like, we can ask for forgiveness later. And then 40 was had the boat up here because he runs the demos for StriperFest. And I'm like, we got a couple hours. We can get this done. We were looking for bluefish, which was a tough year for bluefish. And then next thing you know, we saw acres and acres of algae feeds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, this can work too. And then next thing you know, I keep looking at my clock, and Robbie's going, no, we still got to get these 3 shots. And I'm like, all right. I told Chris that. I was like, I will be there in the 9 o'clock hour. That's what I said. He doesn't remember that. He remembers 9 o'clock. So I come rolling into the marina on the boat at 10 o'clock, 10:22, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, he was at the end of the jetty just with his arms crossed. And I'm like, I'm in so much trouble. And the funniest thing,
I was like, I'll talk to him.
So I say goodbye to you. You swing back to the truck, and you're like, yo, Meeks is down here, right? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, I got to go say hi to Meeks. And I just went, oh, no. This is going to look so bad. So now as Meeks recounts the story, it's how I brought, like when you're a kid and you're in trouble, and you bring your friend home with you so that your dad can't beat the shit out of you.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Give you a good backhand because he's not going to do it in front of your buddy. It's like you soften the blow when you bring a friend along to meet the music, right?
Yeah, I feel the go. I'd come give you a little support there.
So that's what he accused me of, is having this whole thing like, you know what? I'll bring Brew with me. That way he won't be too mad. And I'll hear about that till the day that, the day I retire.
I got to get to one of those StriperFests one of these days.
Yeah, it's a good time. Yeah. It's a good time. Yeah. So that was the time that you tried to get me fired from On the Water.
I got one. I got an albie out there one time. Yeah. Did we get the bluefish?
No, we got a small one. We didn't get what we needed, but we got everything else that we needed. You got an albie. I got an albie that day. They were big this year. Yeah. Albies are addicting.
Yeah.
Have you done a lot from your kayak?
Not a lot from my kayak. So I stay out of Nantucket a bunch from the beaches. I grind the beaches on Nantucket.
Keep away with the seals.
The August Blues tournament I actually won last year.
I saw that.
I was so fired up. It's like it's the first fishing tournament I've ever won. So I got into them, a school of 30 to 35 inch fish, and I pulled in, because it's your biggest 3, and I had a couple 34s and a 33, and it held. It was within like 15 minutes. Boom, 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 and that was it. That was the 3.
That's gonna be so awesome. I imagine being that like Sharpie that's like a lifer on Nantucket that's like got it all figured out, and like I just lost to Tedy Bruschi.
Well, it's not the Inshore Classic. That's a big one out there too. But this is a great one.
That's
a great
cool.
tournament. 2 years old. There's a plaque inside a Bill Fisher tackle with my name on it. So
that's cool.
I'm sort of proud.
Yeah?
I'm sort of proud, man.
That's awesome, dude. That's something to be proud of for sure.
Yeah. Shoot, you brought up Tartaglia. Tartaglia has helped me get out in some. He provided me with a pretty good experience because he let me and Randy Moss fish.
Yeah.
So Moss came up.
Yeah.
And he came to Rhode Island, and
I remember
Robbie took us around, and it was sort of slow. It was sort of slow, and we just. When Moss catches any fish, like I've been down to Charlotte and fished with him a couple times.
I feel like he talks a lot of shit on the boat.
Yes, but I've never seen I've never seen just the enthusiasm of when you catch a fish from someone, and just the pure joy. Like that's like he got me off. Like when I first started, I don't know, 5 or so years ago, I wasn't even really comfortable on being on boats and stuff too, and he had me down there and taught me a lot. And Robbie put us on a couple great bass where we got a pick, and I put it up on my Instagram. And it's been when you have experiences like that. I mean,
fish
you
too.
can remember. Yeah. You better watch out when he sets the hook.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because it's coming back.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
He can fish. I the first time I ran across him was at the Bassmaster Classic last year, and I'm like, total fanboy. Like, I'm like, oh, that's Moss.
Yeah.
I love that man.
Yeah.
I'm like, I go over. I'm like, Moss, what's up? Didn't even pick his head up from his phone, and I'm like, I was just fishing with your boy Brew, and he just snapped around like he broke his neck.
You gave him the code. You gave him the code word.
Yeah, he's like, "Yo, what's up?" He's like, "I've seen you all over his Instagram account." He's like, "What's up, dude?" And I'm like, "I'll catch up with you after," because I was just like grabbing my lunch. And he's like, "I gotta make it to the airport real quick." And I was like, "I want to fish with that dude." But he came in second by like a fraction of an inch in a heavy hitters tournament down there. I mean,
Right,
it's
right.
the
He's a great
kind of the
fisherman.
pro-am
Yeah.
before the classic kicks off. And I think he was fishing with Rick Klung, who's like a Bassmaster legend. And they lost by like a very small amount. I think Chris Zaldane and his partner, I think it might have been the lead singer from Whiskey Myers, who's a great band, one of Tartaglia favorite bands. But Tags was telling me about that trip, and I'm like, oh man, I want to go so bad. I was going to enlist Kyle because we were going to fish water that none of us had any experience in. And I'm like, that's kind of like a little crazy when it's like, we're going to take two of our like childhood legends fishing, and we're going to go where we don't know. And then I ended up like bailing on it last minute, and I'm like, yeah, dude, you'll get this. And he ended up taking you back to one of his home stomping grounds, called an audible.
Right, we had to move
because it was just
dead.
Deadsville at that first place, and you guys ended up getting a couple nice chunks.
Yeah.
Fishing jigs.
Yeah, jigs.
What's your favorite bass bite? What do you like? The topwater explosion? You like the jig bite?
Everybody loves the topwater explosion. I would say learning with the jig. The jig is fun. I mean, it's just. You got to feel it. You got to feel it. But
that
I would
thump.
say topwater.
That thump is pretty. It's something on the jig. I do love that thump, but I go back and forth between the topwater explosions and stuff. There's something about being fully immersed, not being able, because I'm a big anti-headlamp dude when I'm fishing at night. So when these fish erupt right at your feet, it scares the daylights out of you. Yeah. Then you have I probably would, but like. Guys down in Florida are like, oh, you guys are so lucky. You can wade in the water. And so they got gators and pythons and who knows what. We have nothing to worry about. But one night, an otter, made me squeal like a girl. Like it almost like ball tagged me with its tail. Like it erupted right in front of me. And I jumped out of my waders, dude, right on the bank. I was in like belly button deep water, and an otter had been swimming by. I didn't know it was there. It didn't know I was there. And then I saw movement, and I'm like, please tell me that's a muskrat. Yeah. And it was an otter. And those things, that's about as bad as we have it.
Gotcha.
I mean, they're not going to bother you, but I couldn't imagine. I like that element of it because, you almost have to convince yourself that I'm about to get a bite at all times so that it doesn't make you flinch and you can get a good hook set and stuff because it surprises you a lot at night.
Yeah, it does.
Have you you've been doing some swim baiting on the Yak too at night, right? Have you
I
done
did that once down here on the Cape. Done that before. Haven't had a lot of success doing that, but that was something I'll still continue to try.
It's something I want to do more and more of because I got the little John boat and stuff, and you can get it in places that are kind of hard to get to, and with a kayak you get the same kind of
right.
I see some big fish caught on kayaks at night.
Yeah.
Have you thought about fishing any of the kayak tournaments that they have?
Not there yet.
No?
Yeah. These guys, that's a tournament fishing. It's in a kayak. I mean, you're gonna be waiting for spots, I would assume. I mean, I don't know what it's like.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, but I know that
I like the solitude aspect of it a little bit. I'm not into the tournament fishing yet.
I have the tendency of picking a place to fish the day after. So a lot of the kayak fishing tournaments, it's kind of like a close-knit group of people that, they run their tournaments, and they don't publish it in like a outward facing manner. So like, unless you're in that community, unless you're part of that tournament circuit or whatever, you don't know where those tournaments take place. We get to Santuit, and we hammered that pretty good, and we were fishing a bladed jig, and we were with Kyle, Jaget, my buddy. I do a lot of bass fishing on a boat with, and we were learning how to fish, basically a rattle trap, the way he does it.
That's right. That's right. Because he's a tournament fisher guy.
Yeah, he is. So him and I are looking at each other. You caught one right off the bat, and we looked at each other like, and he nodded to me like, this is going to be real good, because it was like juice.
Yeah.
That was the time of year to be there, and it just all went quiet. So then, we were like scratching our head. We're like, do we make another move? And we're like, no, we've already hit 2 places. So we go out of there. You go your way, I go my way. He goes home, and he hits me up, and he goes, dude, yesterday and the day before, there was a 2-day tournament.
The tournament, yeah.
Over
There were
there.
yaks too, yeah.
And he goes, look at these numbers and the amount of inches that were caught in that tournament. I'm like, well, that's
was
why the
almost
place-
like, is this real?
Yeah.
How is this real?
That place has some big fish. So, anyways, long story short, I have the tendency for picking a place to fish right after one of those kind of under the radar tournaments happen. It's just been my luck,
Yeah, let's stay away from that this time.
Yeah.
Let's get it before the tournaments here, Cheech.
What do you have? What are the next couple big things that are on your fishing radar? Not the Mexico bass trip, but what are some things that you want to get done in the Northeast that you haven't done yet?
I would definitely say continue the ponds and the big swim baits is something that I love to do. Like I said, I want to go try Maine up there. There's supposed to be great smallie fishing up there.
Yep.
I'd love to go up there and fish. I'm starting to discover Rhode Island. I started to discover tog fishing too. The tog fishing off the kayak down there in Newport. It's just been incredible. I love eating it too. My wife makes a great chowder, tog
good.
chowder, and I love it. So, but besides that, continuing to, I love fishing from the beach. There was, once in a while, we would still, my son loves to shark.
Yep.
We
Shark
do
is
that
fun.
also. Sharking's fun. That's always an adventure. I don't know how I'm getting a little bit old for the sharking, but pulling those guys up on the shore by the tail.
Yeah.
That's a good experience for us. But just the entire sort of experience I look to do over and over again. Canal, kayak for albies.
Yeah.
Searching for stripers everywhere. Bluefish, love catching bluefish. Won the tournament, call it brewfish. I love it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. What should be on my bucket list, man, up here in New England, really?
Catching a tuna on a popper, I'd say. Have you done it on a popper?
No, I've my first tuna last year was on a jig. That's when I went out
That's
there with
cool.
Zach.
Yeah.
And that was amazing.
Yeah.
That was amazing. So
Catching one on a popper, I'd put that up there. We can get that done.
Yeah.
I've been,
I think my son did. We went with Cape Cod Offshore, and
those
that was
guys are phenomenal.
They are so great, and Dante caught one there. So my son's a great fisherman.
He's
a great fisherman. Yeah.
He's good, and he's in it at the right age where it's only going to get better for him.
Right.
Not that it's not going to for you.
Right.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
like you've come miles in just
Right.
I mean, what a year and change.
Right. My oldest son now, that's my middle. Rex is a good smallmouth fisherman too. I took him to Western Mass, some ponds out there. We went out with Spencer from Berkshire Bass.
Yep.
Yeah. Saw
Yep.
him at the last show too, man. These shows are great. I
Dude,
love
this industry
I
gets
love going to
smaller
these
and smaller.
shows. Yeah.
They're fun.
Yeah.
I haven't fished with him yet. Robbie's buddies with him. But yeah, I would say tuna on a popper, catching a real big tog, like catching like a 10-pound tog is something that is very attainable in Rhode Island. You put your time in, you'll get that done. And those things just fight. Like, they're incredible.
Yeah, they're fun.
They're awesome to eat. Did you take my advice and make your own fish stock with them yet?
No.
Do that next time.
Didn't.
Because it freezes awesome, and it will be the base of your chowder forever and a day. It just elevates the flavors.
Yeah, once you send me that about making the stock, I talk to my wife. It's like, what do you think? Is this possible? She's like, not for this time. Maybe next time around.
The trick is you do that part, because like when my wife doesn't cook, like I'm the cook at the house. So like if I asked her to put a whole fish rack with its head and all and to make a stock, she'd look at me like I can see its eyes. I'm all set. So that might be something that you have to just do. And
so fish rack meaning the bones and the head.
All you do is you take the guts out, you take the gills out with a pair of shears, and then everything else, the fish is already
the whole
filleted.
fish.
The fish
Oh,
is
it's
already
filleted.
filleted. So you got
okay.
it. So that you want the guts out and the gills out. And then you take your fillets, you put them to the side, and then you just a bunch of herbs and onion and whatever, and you boil it, like simmer it, right, for like a couple hours, and it turns into this just delicious stock. And instead of pouring in the fish stock that you buy at the store, you've made your own. So you replace that with
How many fish you got to put in the pot?
2 or 3.
2 or 3?
Yeah. That's,
My wife made this big old pot.
Yeah.
And she makes chicken
it goes
stock.
a long way. Yeah, so it's the same process,
Okay.
except you're not dealing with a chicken head looking back at you, like the fish heads are. So like this has been it's been a journey of fishing, food. We always are talking food. We've been going back and forth. Some of the spots on Nantucket that I loved, I sent you into, and you would hit me right back.
Oh, Nautilus, the blue crab fried rice, man, at Nautilus, and the duck.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Got me wanting to hunt duck.
Yeah. So let's get into that a little bit. Like the first time we fished together, we ended up talking about turkey hunting.
Yep.
So you're big into that. You got your first deer this year.
Did, yeah.
Which was cool to kind of be a spectator for, not in person, but like you were like, these things are okie doking me left and right, and then you got it done. So that's real cool. Fully immersed in the outdoor.
I am. Matt Light, my old teammate, left tackle for the Patriots, just sort of stoked the hunting bug in me, along with Dante, my son, wanting to get into it, and starting with the bows and all of that stuff, and then getting into turkey hunting, which Matt Light just is.
He speaks fluent turkey.
Beast. Yeah, I mean he's calling his owl calls and like turkey calls and all of that stuff, and he's smelling the air and going this way and that way, and he's been almost like a guide for me and sort of teaching me things. And I'm actually going to Florida with him in a few weeks.
Okay.
To go down there. See
Osceola?
Osceola. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
I know a little bit about turkey.
Yep.
I love turkey hunting.
Take my 12 gauge down there. Yes.
I love it. I love it. He's a character. He's got to be one of the funniest teammates you ever had.
Definitely in terms of a lot of the pranks he pulled, how he just captivated the entire team during stretch line, because stretch line is like basically an extension of the locker room. You can just give a hard time to Bill all the way to every single player on the other side of the stretch line, because offense is on one side, defense is on the other side. So, and Light always sort of led the mood in terms of keeping it sort of light for us. Yeah.
So you came into the league 96 as a Pats fan. Our first Super Bowl.
96. Second. 85. They lost to the Bears.
That one doesn't count. That wasn't even close. I wasn't.
We still lost
3.
in 96. You count it. Yeah. It was their first.
Yeah, that was Parcells.
Don't discount the losses.
No, I know. I like to focus on the wins.
Well, 96. Yes, we lost to the Packers in New Orleans. Orleans. That's when Desmond Howard took it up the middle. I was actually on the kickoff team playing the L3. Couldn't get to the middle to get him, but
dealing with Reggie White.
Dealing with Reggie White. I had 2 sacks in that game. Reggie had 3. But man, watching him.
He was a beast.
Yeah.
Who's the scariest player that you ever looked across from and was like, I got to deal with this guy? Was it him on special teams, or was it somebody else?
Shoot, I wouldn't say it was anyone on special teams. I would say various linemen that I went up against, like Larry Allen from the Cowboys.
He was a freak.
He was a Hall of Fame lineman. Of course, on those teams was also Emmitt Smith. Ended up playing against Curtis. Wasn't scary. Curtis Martin for the Jets, but always a great opponent to go up against. But it's definitely those type of lines. And when the Denver Bronco lines around those late 90s when they went back to back was something we always hated going up against, because that's when they were cut blocking and zone blocking and all that stuff, and we just had a tough time with them. That was probably an opponent we never did like going up against.
Though it might not feel like it yet, the saltwater season is coming up fast, which means it's time to reserve your spot at the rail on one of the boats in the Helen H fleet. The trips begin in early April aboard the Starfish, fishing the winter flounder grounds in Cape Cod Bay. By June, the Helen H will be running past Nantucket to the best fluke fishing grounds in the Northeast. If catching a doormat fluke is on your bucket list, these trips offer your best shot at catching a double-digit flatfish. I caught my first 10-pound fluke aboard the Helen H a couple years ago, and that fish wasn't even in the top 3 when it came to deciding who won the pool money. New for 2025, fishermen can enjoy more space at the rail aboard the Angler, which is running 10-hour, open boat, ultra limited trips to Nantucket Shoals. And if you want to fish the canyons, my favorite way to get there has always been aboard a headboat. The Helen H begins running offshore in late summer with 2 and 3 day trips targeting tuna, mahi, and swordfish. A couple years back, I watched Cheech lose his first ever swordfish right at the boat aboard the Helen H, and we'll be back out there this fall looking for redemption. There's plenty of great fishing options with the Helen H fleet this season, but the boats book up fast. So be sure to reserve your trip today at helen-h.com.
One of the funniest stories you ever told me about football was how you almost became a Cincinnati Bengal with the way the pre-draft workouts go.
Oh, yeah. So coming out of Arizona, I was a defensive lineman, and all I knew how to do was rush the passer. And then everybody's like, all right, you're 6'1", about 240. You're going to play middle linebacker. And I was like, sure, whatever. And so they want me to take these drops and angle, break up, and all this stuff. So Cincinnati Bengals come out for a private workout, which means they like you. All right, they're coming out with a private workout, and it's like, all right, you're going to drop back at an angle this way, then I'm going to break you up. Or when I move the ball, break up. I broke out like this, and he went like this. And then when I was making my break, fell down, tumbled on the turf, and fell on the ground, got up, and I was like, I'm not going to Cincinnati.
Thank you. You were one of my like, watching football in my house growing up, you had a knack for big plays. You made a lot of big plays in your career, and my dad would just go, Bruschi! You could hear him from like blocks away. Like, some of his workers used to call him the round mound of sound. You were by far his favorite player, and you had a knack. I mean, number 2 in pick sixes all time for the Pats? Behind
maybe behind
Law?
Ty. I had 4.
Yeah,
I had
behind
4.
Ty
I don't
Law.
know where that is, but yeah.
So, I mean, you were always, you had a nose for the football. You had a nose for big plays.
I had a nose for just trying to. I also had to learn like the linebacker position.
That
so
has to have been
like in
overwhelming.
'96 Super Bowl.
Working for Parcells, mind you. Which,
Yep. So I was a defensive tackle in that Super Bowl versus the Packers, where I sacked Favre 2 times on the guard. I'm lining up on the guard, making pass rush moves, sacked Favre twice, and I played special teams along with that. That package that I was in was called Cactus.
Yeah.
Because I was having good training camps, and along the way they had.
So that was installed for you.
They had to find a certain way to get me in. So they made this package called Cactus for Arizona, where I went to college, where I would come in and a D lineman would come out, and they'd switch a linebacker with a defensive back, and it was a subunit, and I would, move all along the line and do various things to get Willie McGinnis, Chris Slade, those type of guys.
The defense was stacked.
Yeah, we would rush the passer.
What was your favorite football memory of all time?
Man, my favorite football memory, I would say it has to be up there when we were playing the Dolphins in the snow, and I intercepted Jay Fiedler for a pick six.
You went in with the
in terms of
with the weak legs, the knee.
So you said like the
knee
moment,
like
that moment where that the fans sort of just took that and just threw the snow in the air, and they created the moment, really, and that's why it was so special. I remember being on the sideline and looking up, and it was still going before the next kickoff. You know what I mean? Was going on, and Vrabel comes up to me and says, "Look what you did."
Dude, I got goosebumps.
And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And it was still going around, and it was one of the best moments. Yeah, the best moments of my career. Really, seeing how the fans reacted to that. Yeah.
How different are the fans in New England, Boston, whatever you want to call it, than you've played in pretty much every market? Is it noticeable?
Well, it's generational, really. It's not that way other places. I mean, you go to Arizona, you go to Jacksonville. I'm not ashamed to say it. It's just not the same in certain places. Boston, you got to give their props. I mean, Chicago, New York, these type of fan bases where teams have been there for so long. And when I say generational, it's like grandparents to grandkids to sons, to daughters and all of that stuff. I mean, after we won our first in 2001, I love telling this story because I had no clue it was like this. A woman came up to me and said, just thank you. And she thanked us for winning the championship. I'm like, sure, that's fine. She said, no, my grandfather wanted me to thank you because he told me now he can die a happy man. And I was like, these people are serious.
Yeah.
I mean, this is 2001, the first championship. And I'm so proud to be on that team that was the first one, because I think that's the team that really gets remembered in sort of starting the 2 decades of dominance, but also being the first, because it was really a mental block I think fans had here that the Patriots could even do it. I mean, just like no, this is never going to happen. This is never going to happen. I mean, losing in '85, losing in '96, and then the Sox had their successes, the Celtics over the years.
It kind of kicked off
an
epic run
of all
Boston
teams.
sports.
You know what I mean? Yes. So that was special to be on in '01.
What was leading up to that Super Bowl like? Were you guys like you played them earlier in the season? You came up a little short, but it was clear that you could beat that team.
Rams,
Yeah. It was. I mean, that was the greatest show on turf. Going into that prep week, heading up to the Super Bowl, were you guys just like, we got this? Did you know? How did you feel going into it?
Anybody tells you we knew we got it, they're lying. Okay,
Yeah.
because this is a great team, and just the way that we won, Cheech, to get to that game. I mean, okay,
It was all by
the Raiders in the snow, right? We needed the tuck rule.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we needed now that's good fortune, okay, because I also thought that was a fumble, but the rule's the rule, and sorry, Raiders fans, the rule was the rule back then, and so it's like. You need, I mean, that's what Belichick says, good players, good coaches, good fortune. That was our good fortune sort of part of that sort of run. We win that game, had to go to Pittsburgh and score 2 special teams touchdowns. That doesn't happen.
No.
Troy Brown on a punt return, and then I think it was Antoine Smith. Troy picked up a blocked field goal, passed it back to him, and he scored. So we're scoring. I mean, we had luck in the snow. We had, special teams touchdowns in the AFC Championship game in Pittsburgh, and then you get to play the Rams, and it's like, let's see what happens here. Marshall Faulk. I mean, Ricky Proehl's talking about starting a dynasty before the game. It's like, dude, they thought it was just going to be. They were going to handle business. And we still had to score on defense to win that game in terms of the interception by Ty Law.
That
right?
was
So
the first score of the game, right?
our offense was responsible for 2 touchdowns the entire run.
Yeah.
All right. Tom Brady, no, I think 3.
Rookie.
3. Brady scored in the snow, right?
Yeah,
He ran
Wiggins.
it in. All right. Bledsoe threw the touchdown to Patton in the corner.
Yep.
Against the Steelers, and then Brady hit Patton in the Super Bowl. So those 1 touchdown per game.
Oh, that's right. Wiggins set up the kick to end that game.
Yeah, the other
Vinatieri
touchdowns
was
were
huge
set
for
up
that.
through special team that scored special teams and defense. And so that type of stuff had to happen for us to win that year.
That team just had a knack for winning football games, like in the most kind of gritty,
Or anything but dominant.
ways.
We were not dominant. I mean, going from 01 all the way to being on the 07 team, and we are dominating everybody. The transformation that happened was really amazing in terms of everyone sort of cheering for us to win that game, and the Patriots and the other underdog to being flipped, and then everybody wanting the Giants to beat us in 07.
I'm not going to say that I thought you guys were going to win in 01, but when you guys got announced as a team, post September 11, like the Patriots were anointed America's team because they're red, white, and blue, and then you guys come out as a unit for the. No one's done that in a Super Bowl. Everyone's like, look at me, I'm here. I'm one person, I'm in the Super Bowl, and you guys decide to come out in a team. That's when I felt really good about having the home team with a plus 17 point cushion.
In the
with
line,
the bookie, and I'm like, they're going to cover this.
Yeah.
And then you guys went and pulled it off. That was coming out as a team. I think I was like,
I've never felt the crowd gasp when we came out. The crowd gasped. I could feel it. Like when Pat Summerall said, and your AFC champion New England Patriots would like to be introduced as a team, and we come out, and I felt the crowd go, whoa. Literally felt that walking out that tunnel, like they were like, no way.
If
that's
I was
the coolest
on the
thing
Rams,
they had
that's
ever
when
seen.
I would have been like,
yeah.
we got a problem on our hands today.
I still get talked about that moment. I did Radio Row at the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
and people will come up to me and tell me that moment changed sports. Changed all of sports in terms of what the focus was going forward. And now at the Super Bowl, they don't get introduced as individually anymore.
Because who wants to go back to that when it was that was such a like pinnacle of team sports, you know? Yeah. And it's funny, you say generational. My son came up to me he plays flag football, as you know. He's got his Eagles jersey on for the Super Bowl. And I'm like, hey,
that's his flag football team.
That was his team this last season. And he goes, hey, Dad. He goes, you're going to root for the Eagles? I go, this will be the only time that I ever root for a team for Philadelphia. But yes, I want to see them beat the Kansas City Chiefs. And he goes, well, I'm rooting for them today. But Dad, listen, if it ever comes down to like the Eagles playing the Patriots or something like that, I'm going to root for the Patriots, just so you know.
Okay.
Like, you always root for the home team, but sometimes you're going to like a player from another team and you're going to want to root for them. And I'm like, dude, you get it. He's 7 years old.
How old
get
now?
it. 7.
7? So that's about... It's weird because a lot of times this is how kids become fans of different teams than where they're from, right?
Yep.
I mean, either the flag football jersey. When I was a kid, right around Anthony's age, for Christmas, we got these cologne bottles. You know, I mean, we were getting to be 7. My wife wanted my mother and my stepfather wanted to give us a gift of, first time I ever had cologne. And it was an NBA-based cologne sort of licensing where on top of the bottle there was a basketball player, shooting it.
Yeah.
And on my bottle, it was the Boston Celtic logo. And that's how I became a Celtic fan. I mean, I've always been a Celtics fan. I mean, even before I came out here, but it was that cologne bottle. And then I'm like, what's the team? And they're like, oh, that's the Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
And then so, of course, around that time when I'm 7 is like the Bird era. And of course, dude, it just took off where I became a Celtics fan
pretty cool.
and have been ever since.
So yeah, it definitely is generational, and sports is it's the best.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
so
I've being here so long now, I've raised 3
New
New
Englanders.
Englanders, and they're Celtics, Red Sox, Patriots, Bruins, everything.
you're right.
and
It's
we
around that
absolutely
age
love
that
it.
happens because for me it was jerseys. Like when I was 8, 9, like that was when they probably sold jerseys before that, but that's when you could really get jerseys from any player almost in the league, any player that was something. Mm-hmm. And I had, jerseys from all across the league for players that I liked. That was my whole wardrobe was, football jerseys. Right. And I had jerseys that I'm ashamed to say that I had because I hate those teams now as a grown adult, but I just, happened to like that player.
I wonder how players feel about that because for me, it's the greatest compliment I can ever get when a fan puts my name on their back.
Yeah.
And I vividly remember going to either away games or driving to the Gillette Stadium or Foxborough, whatever it was, cool. And I would see people with my name on their back, and I would nod my head like, that is pretty cool, and I appreciate that. Yeah.
The first time that we fished together, and I obviously knew it was coming, I'm like, I probably had over 100 jerseys throughout my lifetime. I think I have 2 in my possession, 3 in my possession now. I have Jordan's North Carolina jersey.
Nice. Yeah.
I had the one that I had you sign that day. I was like so embarrassed. I'm like, hey, can you sign? And you're like, ooh, that's an old one. And I kept.
Which one was that?
It was from the 2001.
Okay, so that was Navy.
Yes.
Was that Navy?
Yep. Yeah. And it was. I kept that one, and then David Ortiz's 2004 World Series. We had season tickets for like 10 years from 2001 to 2009, and we caught some awesome Red Sox history.
Right. They've got those cool.
Those are the ones I kept.
They bring the Royal Blues back, I think, a little bit. They've got a Mitchell and Ness Royal Blue, which is pretty cool, 54 that I've seen. That reminds me because that's my rookie year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like It's pretty cool.
Those jerseys were in '96 were kind of hideous, but they were awesome. At
I know,
the same
but so
time.
now that they're
they
gone,
had the two-tone
it's
like stripes.
Instead of the throwback with the Reds, throw back the Royals.
Yeah.
Bring the Royals back.
I like
think
it.
Fans would love that.
I would.
Although I love the red, but
I do love the red too, but
we had some good unis. Man.
I like. I
the
always.
helmet. Yeah, the Pat Patriot helmet was cool.
That's the best logo. I like the Flying Elvis, but Pat Patriot is just like anytime I buy something Patriots, I kind of always opt for the Pat Patriot throwback. I remember Schaefer Stadium sitting on those terrible seats. But all right, so we covered the best football. What was the worst football moment?
Okay, this is a funny.
that in
All
there.
right, this is a funny one because I don't know if anyone's ever seen this, but so I think it was during the Pete Carroll years when we were playing, when we were still being introduced individually. And I had a knee injury, okay? And I came back and they put a brace on my leg. And so I'm getting used to running in it. But we're playing the Arizona Cardinals and we're getting introduced, individual by individual. And they introduce me. So I start running out there and all your teammates,
full of adrenaline.
All your teammates got their hands out and you put it like this. I tripped on one of my teammates' legs, and during pregame introduction, I fell. I fell and rolled. The whole crowd starts laughing.
Dude, that's gotta be so embarrassing, dude.
It was one of the most embarrassing moments of my career. And I got up and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened.
That's
Everybody
hilarious.
was laughing. Z. Frost Moss, an old offensive tackle, came up to me and just was laughing. I mean, pregame, you're supposed to be all fired up. He was just laughing at me. And it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad. So I would say, tripping during. So I'm so glad we started it being introduced as a team because then it's like I don't got to worry about falling down. But yeah, that was one of them.
That's I didn't expect it to go there.
Yeah.
You know what I
Can you
expected.
believe that? Oh, you think I was thinking 07 loss or anything like that? I'm not going off anything like that. But no, that was pretty embarrassing.
Yeah.
So funny.
That's
My gosh.
dude. That is like nightmare fuel. You know what I mean?
It is.
You
It
got
is.
all eyes on you. You're
Not nightmare fuel. You get over that. The nightmare fuel is still seeing plays from the Giant game.
Yeah.
Yeah, various plays and stuff like that in terms of trying, just like the Chiefs tried to do this year, winning 3 in a row.
It's hard.
And then going undefeated. It's, I respect the plight, though, that they were trying to win 3 in a row because that's like a 3-year grind.
I don't think it will ever happen, especially as they're
gosh.
extending the season now.
If they go 18 games
I don't
now,
think
too,
it'll ever happen.
that's going to be hard. That's going to be hard to do. But that's why, I know a lot of New England weren't cheering for the Chiefs to do that, but if they did it, I respected the effort, actually. I did respect that.
Shimano has rods and reels for every fishery in the Northeast, whether it's deep dropping the swordfish in the canyons, casting the stripers in the surf, or finessing panfish through the ice. That's about as wide a range of fishing applications as you're going to get. For inshore saltwater applications, the workhorse of the Shimano lineup is the Spheros SW combo. The Spheros SW is built with premium Shimano technologies like Infinity Drive, which increases cranking power and smoothness while fighting fish. The rods range from a 7-foot medium heavy to a 9-foot heavy and fit Spheros SW sizes from 5,000 to 8,000 for a range of lure and bait fishing. From the surf this past season, I used the Ultegra XR 14,000 XSD paired with the Shimano Tierlejo XX surf rod. The Ultegra XR is Shimano's most feature-packed surf reel to date, with the rigid cast spool support to stabilize the spool while casting heavy lures, Infinity Drive to increase winding power under pressure, and X-Protect technology to provide high-level water resistance. The Tierlejo XX is built for casting distance and durability. The 10'6", 1 to 3 ounce model was perfect for punching avid jigs through the wind during a sand eel bite in New Jersey last fall, and it was great for throwing pencil poppers to distant bluefish off the south side of Cape Cod. It's become my go-to combo when casting distance makes the difference in the surf. No matter what you're fishing for in the Northeast, Shimano has a rod and reel for it. To pick out your next setup, visit fish.shimano.com.
I feel like it would be tough to get, like, I would be reliving certain plays. How much control do defenders have once the play is called and they're like you're the middle linebacker, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, if you're-
Mike, this is something I probably should have asked you this in the various fishing times because I was always curious, right? So Manningham makes that ridiculous catch. The only one that was crazier than that
Oh, the one, yeah,
was
on
the
the
helmet
sideline.
catch. But
Right.
that sideline catch was a thing of beauty coming from a has-been receiver that never was anything. You've seen the school I played at. There's 90 kids there. That was the only reason I was able to play football probably. But, that catch happens, and then I think you guys were like 3rd and long or something. I'm like, all right, they're gonna stop me here, and they get that first down, and then you guys are in a 0 blitz, I think.
Yeah.
And I felt so, like as
Ellis
a cornerback,
Hobbs.
I felt
Yeah.
so bad for Ellis Hobbs. He was left on an island with Plaxico. Like, at what point do you realize, like, I think it was you and Junior?
Right, Junior we were in dime, so Junior was on the field. I wasn't on the field for that play.
Okay.
So yeah, they called the all-out blitz.
At what point do you realize as a linebacker when the call comes in and you see what they're about to do, do you go, oh, we're in trouble?
Yeah, you can feel it. You can feel it. Like, and you can even look out. Like, there's Plex, who's a 6'4", 6'5" guy on Ellis, and you pretty much know it. We got to get there. We got to get there. I mean, that in terms of that. Changing it at that point, it's possible.
You're going rogue
it's
at that
possible.
point, right?
I mean, yeah, was it a bad call? In hindsight, sure. Should we have been doubling that over and just playing man coverage, 4-man rush, something like that? Some red area defense, maybe. But, Bill called that pressure. Dean Pease was the D coordinator, but I think Bill sort of gave him the wink that let's go after him. But, I mean, I've changed plays before. I mean, Ty Law was, of course, Hall of Fame cornerback. He's told this story before too. When, he gets gassed if we're just playing man-to-man coverage, and he's playing over and over, and all the receivers, and he's gassed. He comes up to me once and says, "Hey, Brew, man, I can't do man right here.
Yeah.
So do what you got to do." In comes the call from Romeo Cornell, the defensive coordinator, and it was man.
Yeah.
I looked at Ty. I got the call. He sort of looks at me, and I call zone.
Yeah.
Because it was a 3rd down. I don't know. It might have been 2nd down or something like that. But so we go through a couple more downs, and we get off the field, right? So I gave Ty a blow by calling zone for him. We go to the sideline, and Bill's like, "Damn it, Rack. What happened on that play? Why didn't they play it?" All this stuff. And blah, blah. Bill's going ballistic. Rack looks to me. Romeo Cornell looks to me. And it's like, "Brew, what happened?" I said, "Ty needed a blow." And I walked to the bench, and he looked at Bill, and he went, "All right, Ty needed a blow," and that's it. And so that's like
They
one
get
of
it,
the,
right?
Yeah,
They
had to get it. Yeah, but I was like, Ty's gonna. I got to take control sometimes. I mean, the coaches are the coaches, but we're the ones out there playing. So, listen, we got one of the best corners in the game that needs a play, so I'm going to give him a play. And how many times have I done that? I mean, you could count them on your hand. You don't do that a lot, but if I had to, it's like, just sit down, Bill. I got this. We're going to be all right. Yeah,
I love it. So coming back full circle, right? Your career ended ultimately on a high note. Like, coming back from what you came from, you suffered a stroke, but you've made that kind of your life's work with Tedy's team and stuff. Tell us a little bit about what you have going on and the things to just be aware of.
Right. Well, this is big for us because this is my 20th year with Tedy's team, and this season will be the 20th year for my comeback, actually. So we're sort of celebrating that through Tedy's team, the 20-year anniversary. My whole thing is about, we run the Boston Marathon. We've probably got about close to 60 runners running for us this year, and they raise awareness for the warning signs of stroke, and that's my whole thing, because when I had a stroke, I didn't know I was having a stroke. We used the acronym BFAST: balance difficulties, eyesight issues, facial droop, arm weakness, slurred speech. And then there's the T, which is time to call 911. And 14 years after my first stroke, I had another stroke, which was a smaller stroke called the transischemic attack, a TIA. And that's when I had the facial droop, and that's when I had my arm sort of went dead. And my wife and my sons immediately knew I was having a stroke, and then they got me to the hospital, and I was okay. But 20 years of stroke awareness. I've had a lot of people come up to me and just thank me for pumping those warning signs, because it's made a difference out there. So Boston Marathon, if you're out there and you see those Tedy's team jersey, cheer them on.
Yeah, I got a chance to take that in. You were kind enough to let me watch my brother cross the finish line from where you were posted up. And you guys, a lot of energy. You know,
Yep.
a lot of positivity. Everybody's kind of, pulling in the same direction. You guys have raised a ton of money for stroke
Millions
awareness.
and millions for stroke awareness, stroke research program. We partner with Massachusetts General Hospital for the Tedy's Team Center for Excellence in Stroke Recovery. Because eventually, insurance companies run out,
Yeah,
right? It's like
of
you can
course.
only do so much rehab. So this is a place that provides rehab past your insurance company. So Boston Marathon, we're excited about it. We'll be at the Lenox Hotel again.
It's awesome.
And, it's going to be fun.
How can people get involved just to support the cause? Because, the one thing that's awesome about the fishing community is, they flock to support each part of their community when it's needed, which is a pretty special deal. So, like, how can people get involved and help that cause?
Yeah, first of all, those warning signs I mentioned, know them. That's the biggest thanks you can do for me is know the warning signs of stroke. Teddy'sTeams.org, Teddy'sTeam.org is somewhere you can go if you want some more information.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. Well, we kind of have our playbook for out ahead as far as getting you a tuna on the popper and getting after it. I mean, it's
the
great.
first thing that's coming up is going to be the ice is going to melt. Yeah. And we're going to be in waders, you and I, and Dante will be coming down, and
Nice.
we'll be fishing down here, various places, even up where I am, up around the
As
North
soon as the
Attleboro area.
peepers start peeping, that's when it's time for big baits. And if we have to go and bull rush them in there, I don't even know if they migrate here, if they crawl out of the ground. I don't know anything about peepers, but those little frogs that make that peeping sound, you and I got to go wake them up. And
But
once
you're
they're
talking
awake,
about jerk baiting too, right?
well, that'll scratch the as soon as the ice out. I mean, shit, we can go ice fishing even, but we almost.
So we got to do the main thing, ice fishing. Get some smallies up there.
So that's really cool, and that's something that I didn't get to do this year. I took Adele with me last year with my buddy Robbie Taylor, who I'm due.
Yeah, Robbie's a beast. man.
You're gonna link up with him, whether it's for a striper fish, whether it's a trip, or whether it's for a tog trip, which he's now the new state record holder for Tautog in Rhode Island. You got to do one of those trips with him. Maybe you can jump on with us for one of those tuna trips, which I think we caught 46 landed to the boat, bluefin, in one trip. The guy is an animal, but
Jeez.
when he's not working, one thing he loves to do is go do run and gun ice fishing for smallies, where he's got the electronics and he can see what's going on around. And he's had 100 fish days jigging smallmouth through the ice, and it's not
So you
boring ice
It's
fishing.
a trap, right? It's
That's
not a
so
rod.
that's how most people ice fish and stuff. So you have a little jigging rod. We call them tickle sticks, right? And they're little. They look like the Barbie rods, right? So what you're doing is you're locating the smallies, and you drill 50 holes, 75 holes in an area where you know that they congregate, and you're literally using your electronics to be like, oh, there's a wolf pack over there. Run to that hole, drop down, and you see them come right off the bottom, and then it's your job to play keep away with them or do whatever it is gonna elicit that strike. So it's kind of amped up.
Okay, so
Ice fishing,
I need
it's
to be
fun.
ice fishing once before it melts because I've never been.
All right.
So that's what I got to do next.
I think that's something that I want to do. We still have time. We almost got that done yesterday. I was out with I was out in Worcester with Anthony doing it, and it was fun. But that's the way you want to do it. You want to do the main smallies through the ice. I think we can make that happen.
Because Maine's the ice is going to still be there.
It's going to stay a lot longer than we have. I mean, we'll be throwing jerk baits in 10 days if I was to guess. Maybe a little longer. But Maine, you got a little.
That ice is out there, man.
Let's get on it.
It's cold.
Dude, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah,
I
Cheech.
appreciate it, dude.
buddy.
Can't wait to harass these fish some more with you and share some laughs
gonna be a
over
fun season.
just sports, food, and fishing and family, man.
Yeah, man.
That's what it's all about. So thank you for joining us. Appreciate you, bud.
My pleasure.
All
My
right.
pleasure, buddy.